So you're thinking about moving to Idaho? Well, before you move here, you need to know these 17 facts about moving to Idaho. Things like, if you consider this scary or a weapon of war, this might not be the place for you because you're going to be seeing a lot more of these around in Idaho. So stay tuned. We're going to get after the 17 things you need to know before moving to Idaho right now. Hey everyone, my name is Curtis Chism, and as I said in the intro, we're going to be covering the 17 things that you need to know before you move to Idaho. Whether or not you can handle these facts, it might be considered pros and cons, depends on how you look at things. So we're going to get after those things here in just a second. And first, again, my name is Curtis with the Chism team, and I'm a local real estate agent helping people relocate to Treasure Valley, to Boise, to Idaho. If I can help you with that, please reach out. Let's have a phone call. You can text me, you can email me. I'm here to answer your questions. We will jump on a call and figure out your needs, what your lifestyle's like, where the best place is for you to live here in Idaho. And whether that's in the next 9 days, 90 days, or even a year, let's have that call and let's figure out the timeline and what's best for you. We absolutely love helping people relocate here to Idaho. I myself moved from California and I absolutely love living here and I want you to enjoy that too, but only if you can handle these 17 things that we're going to be getting after right now. And the first is it is a very conservative state, and that might be why you're looking to move here. That is what tends to draw people here. So people here love their country, they love their state, they love their guns, they love their churches. So if you're not into those things, now you don't have to be into going to church, but a lot of people do like to go to church and might expect you to go to church too, but it just depends on the neighborhood and area you're moving into. But people are moving here because it's conservative and they want to keep it that way. So if that's going to be an issue for you, and then maybe this isn't the best place for you because generally speaking, it's going to be a more conservative area. Now, that being said, the city of Boise itself is less conservative versus the surrounding areas around Boise, especially places like Nampa, Caldwell, Middleton are going to be more conservative areas of the Treasure Valley area. Now, relating to the conservatism is the number 2, which is people love their guns. Like I mentioned in the intro, and I've got one of mine right here, people love their guns. So like I said, if you consider this scary or weapon of war, maybe this isn't the place for you, but people love their guns for self-defense. It is a constitutional carry state, meaning you can have open carry, concealed carry without a permit. Now you can get a permit and you can get reciprocity in other states, in certain other states. So, but you are allowed to carry a firearm without a permit here in Idaho. And they're also big into hunting. So if you're not into hunting, you don't have to go out and hunt, but just be aware that a lot of people are. It's going to be discussed. And if you're out hiking, you're going to be seeing hunters as well. Do not bother them. You cannot harass hunters. It's actually against the law. So if you're uncomfortable with that, maybe not the place for you. But if you are, then it probably is the place for you. All right, number 3 is Idahoans are fiercely independent. That kind of goes back to that conservatism, and they want to be left alone in general. There are a lot of people that are kind of isolationists. That's going to be more in the mountains versus the actual city of Boise and Treasure Valley, but we still draw a lot of independence. I myself moved from California because I was fed up with what was going on and the intrusiveness of the government, and that's probably what you're looking for as well, is some more freedom, and that's what people love about Idaho is the freedom. But that being said, when there were some of the major things going on in the country with the BLM stuff, Antifa, COVID lockdowns, some counties did not lock down at all. Some did lock down a bit more, but for the most part, we remained open. And when the riots were going on, there were actually a lot of people that went to the Capitol with their ARs, with their firearms to defend the Capitol and prevent that from even starting here. Now, no one was shot, no one was killed, but that's what happened, and it prevented a lot of kind of the mayhem that occurred in other cities here in the country, which you're very well aware of course. So, fiercely independent, they want to protect their towns and their cities. Now, number 4 kind of goes related to this, is the people here are actually super friendly, but if you're just moving here from California, you might get a little pushback from people. So definitely want to change your plates as soon as you can. When I moved here, nothing happened to me, but I did hear stories of people getting their cars keyed because they were from California, so that's terrible. Here's what actually happened to me though, is I got kind of pulled over by a cop early on when I first moved here because I have a Toyota Tundra and it's a really cool brown color, smoked mesquite. And so this cop pulled up to me at a stoplight and asked me to roll down my window, and the window was locked because I have kids and they always roll the window down. So we're struggling to get the windows rolled down. Finally got it down. Like, yeah, officer, can I help you? He's like, how do you like the color of your truck? So I thought that was hilarious. That was the only reason. We were at a stoplight. It turned green. I'm chatting with him. And finally I'm like, I gotta go. It's green. He's like, yeah, go for it. That's like the second time that happened. I was driving through Texas and I got pulled over late at night because I was on a 2-lane road and I was staying in the left-hand lane. Didn't know I couldn't do that. And he really just wanted to check on me and then asked me how I liked my truck too. So it's pretty hilarious. It happened a couple times. The other thing that happened to me too is I did get followed by police for quite a while on the freeway. I was being followed and police officer got off and immediately there was another one behind me who followed me for probably about 10 miles. And I just set my speed control and went the speed limit and not above it at all. And I was fine, but I think I was being followed to see what I was going to do. Being from California is my guess. So that being said, you know, the people here are definitely friendly, but I did kind of feel like a fish out of water for quite a while when I didn't have my license plates changed over. So as soon as you can, change your license plates over, get to the DMV. It's super easy. If you're not financed, if your vehicle's financed, it can take a while because you got to get the title from the company that's holding the title and send it to the state of Idaho, and then they can release it. So that process can take a while, but if you own the vehicle, you can get right in and change your license plates over super fast. All right, number 5 is the median income here is fairly low. So number 5 and number 6 are gonna kind of go hand in hand. And so the big industries here are service and construction. So a lot of service industry, restaurants, and of course construction. So there are tech companies moving in. A lot of people that have moved to Idaho have figured out how to work remote. A lot of people are also starting businesses here. So there's a lot of entrepreneurship and there's a lot of help here to help get your businesses started. So that being said though, the people that actually live in Idaho, that's why they're upset about Californians coming, is because people with out-of-state money with higher paying jobs that are work remote are driving the cost up. And so folks that live here don't tend to make a ton of money. I mean, tipped employees actually start at a little over $3 an hour, assuming they're getting tips. So that's extremely low. But non-tipped employees are usually starting higher. I mean, there's signs around for McDonald's starting at 14 bucks an hour. Still not amazing, of course, but much higher than the minimum wage. So the wages are starting to rise, but overall it's fairly low. And that leads into point number 6, which is affordability. And before we move on, don't forget to hit subscribe and like this channel. We drop new videos every single week that's all about living in Boise and the Treasure Valley, so you can get a full overview of the neighborhoods here, the cities, the pros and cons, and everything you need to know before you make the move to Treasure Valley. So hit subscribe and hit that like button. People move into Idaho from California for at least 30 years. My aunt and uncle live in Sandpoint, Idaho. Now they actually moved from Florida to Idaho, and he runs a cedar mill up there. So certainly he's been in business here and has been in Idaho for a long time. That being said, people have been moving here more recently because of how affordable that has been, but it's gotten very expensive over the years. And so the median home price has more than doubled in the last couple of years. So you might be surprised at the type of home that you're gonna buy here in the Boise area. Right now, the median price in Ada County, which Ada County is Boise, Meridian, Eagle, Star, and it's $600,000. But that being said, in Eagle, it's $1 million. So now you can get some very beautiful homes for $1 million you could not buy in California. But you might be surprised about the type of home that you're going to be buying. You might be buying a home in Canyon County, which is about $130,000 less overall as a median price, but you're still going to be surprised about the type of home you can get if you're thinking about what Idaho was a couple years ago. So just keep in mind, it's not nearly as affordable as it once was. Gas is certainly high. It's going to be about $1 cheaper. So don't move here because you think gas is going to be cheaper. It's really not that much cheaper. All right, number 7 is extreme weather. Now we do have 4 seasons here in Idaho. That being said, southern Idaho, where Boise is located, is a lot less extreme. It's more temperate than other parts of Idaho. That's actually a reason why I chose to move here versus some other states that I was looking at. You know, I was looking at Texas, I was looking at Tennessee, and I ended up settling on Idaho partially because of how much more temperate it is compared to some of those other states. So we do get snow. We only get about 16 inches of snow per year here in the Treasure Valley area. That being said, compared to North Idaho, for instance, Sandpoint, they get an average of about 58 inches a year. So you're gonna have much more to deal with in North Idaho as far as definitely making sure you're putting chains on your vehicle more frequently, maybe studded tires. You're gonna have roofs that collapse, trees that fall down, that kind of thing you're gonna deal with in North Idaho. Down here, if you're going to the ski resorts, you're definitely gonna learn how to put chains on if you don't know how to already to get to your ski resorts. Probably put winter tires on your vehicle as well. It's gonna help get all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, and that's gonna help you a lot. If you're not used to driving the snow, please slow down, be very careful, and learn those basics of your vehicle so you can not get in a wreck. So that being said, it does get cold. Your coldest months are gonna be December and January, average high of about 39 degrees. And I actually visited here the first time in December to the Boise area on purpose because I wanted to know what it was like when it wasn't that nice of weather, and I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, if this is as bad as it gets, I can handle this. So that's how I approached it. And then I did, of course, come back in the spring and summer, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So that's the thing. In the summertime, it does get really hot. So it does get cold in the winter, and it gets hot in the summer, hotter than you might expect. Well, the average temperature in July and August, those are your two hottest months, are gonna be right around 92 degrees. But you're probably gonna have a spell where it's gonna be over 100 degrees. In fact, when I first moved here, the first several weeks was over 100 degrees every day, about 100 to 107 degrees as a high every single day. Now, that being said, it is fairly dry, you don't have the humidity, so it is bearable. And the interesting thing is it actually gets really hot in the late afternoon, early evening. So that kind of peaks around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So normally in California, being from a coastal city like San Diego, it cools down in the evening. Here, it does not cool down until very, very late in the wee hours of the morning. So it takes a while to get used to that. It's just very hot. And that being said, it stays very light for a long time. So the sun comes up early, goes down late at night. So it's gonna be light. Even though sun goes down around 9:30, it's gonna be light till 10:30 or so at night, maybe even 11. So it takes some getting used to with those long days. In fact, if you have children, it can be really rough moving here in the summertime. My kids had a really hard time transitioning. There's a slight time change, and then the later nights. And I mean, when I first moved here, my kids weren't going to bed until 11 o'clock at night versus 8 o'clock as more of a normal basis. The trick we did, because we were in a temporary, like a short-term rental, they had blackout curtains, so we ended up putting tin foil over the windows and taping it, so it completely blocked it out. It took us a couple weeks to figure that trick out, but that definitely helped try to get them to go to sleep a little bit earlier. Now, the other thing related to the weather is it does get very windy here. Now, it's not maybe as windy as some of the plains, say in Texas, where it is extremely windy. I visited Fort Worth. I was thinking about moving there, and it was very, very windy. And our friends were like, yeah, it's windy like this at least half the year. So it can get windy here, especially as you get more into the farmland areas, away from the foothills. As far as like Nampa, Caldwell area, it's going to be more windy, but it's not unbearable. And it does actually, there's a breeze, so it helps keep the heat down, but it can get windy. So keep that in mind. If you don't really like the wind at all, it's going to be a bit windy, and it can get dry here as well. So your nose might start cracking, your hands are going to start cracking, that kind of thing. So you definitely want to use a good lotion. But those are all things to keep in mind around the weather here in Idaho. Now, the 8th thing is wildfires. Well, we don't really have wildfires here in the Boise Treasure Valley area and the local mountains here too much. That being said, there are wildfires elsewhere in the state and wildfires in Oregon, Northern California, Montana, and the smoke from those wildfires does collect here in Treasure Valley. And it kind of acts almost like a bowl, and it keeps the smoke in. So the smoke can get really, really bad here, especially in August and September when those fires are the worst. So if you have any sort of allergies or lung breathing issues, it could be a big problem for you. You got to stay indoors a lot more. It's hard to get your kids out. It gets, it's gray from all the smoke. It's hard to breathe. It's a health hazard. So those are all certainly things to keep in mind that a lot of people don't realize before they move here, is the wildfires and the smoke from those wildfires here. Now, the 9th thing you need to keep in mind is the lack of infrastructure here and the traffic here in Treasure Valley. So because of the big influx of people, over the last few years, the infrastructure just was not there to keep up with it. We really only have one freeway here, and that is I-84. There is a connector freeway, I-184, but the main freeway is I-84, and that's running through the Central Valley. It's going to be connecting you over from Portland through Boise down into Salt Lake City. Now, that can get bad as well. They are doing a lot of work on it, so there are days where it is just really backed up, especially during rush hour. It's going to be kind of bad too. And most of the roads around here, if you're off the 84, are going to be 2-lane farm roads. Now, if you're going through some of the larger cities around the Treasure Valley area, Boise area, like Meridian, Eagle, and Boise itself, there are going to be 4-lane roads, but it just takes a while to get around. So you might look at your map and say, oh, it's only 5 miles away, but it might take you 15 minutes to get there because there's so many stop signs and traffic lights and train crossings and that kind of thing. Actually, I've noticed my leg actually kind of starts hurting after a while, like that muscle in my shin, because all the stop and go. So it kind of takes some getting used to. Fortunately, I have adaptive cruise control, so I use that a lot just as I'm driving around the city. But it takes some getting used to. And so yeah, there is a lot of traffic, especially getting the farm roads. If you get into areas like Nampa, Star, Caldwell, there can be a lot of traffic trying to commute into the city. So it might add another 15, 20 minutes to your 25 or 30 minute commute. So that's not great. And that leads us into point number 10, which is the farm culture here in Boise. So if you're not used to farmland, get used to it, because that's what a lot of it is. You're going to come across dairy farms, tons and tons of farmland that is everywhere here, and 2-lane country roads where you might get stuck behind farm tractors, farm equipment, semi-trucks carrying their farm loads as far as hay, sugar beet. There's tons of sugar beet here in the valley because there is a sugar beet factory. So you just have to get used to driving slower on these country roads. They can get backed up as you start getting around the major subdivisions or close to the freeway as people are trying to get on the freeway. That being said, if you can time it right and you're not actually on the road at the time that it's a heavy infrastructure or heavy traffic, then you're going to be okay. And it's actually kind of relaxing. I really enjoy driving through the farm roads. It just is really, really relaxing for me versus coming from San Diego, which is just so much concrete and freeways. Now, the 11th thing staying on traffic and driving is Idaho has some of the worst drivers in the country. It actually ranks as the 8th worst place in the country for driving, and that's from Insurify, and it's based on basically looking at traffic incidents, tickets, accidents, that kind of thing. And I noticed it when I moved here. I actually didn't know that before moving here, and I realized that when I got here. I'm like, people don't drive that well here. So keep that in mind. Drive slower, watch out for people. The drivers are not great here. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe it's from the Californians moving in that aren't used to driving on the roads here, that kind of thing. And related to that too is there are no helmet laws for motorcycles. So that might be a pro for you. You might want the freedom of that. It's kind of shocking when you first see it coming from California. Of course, everyone has helmets. And frankly, for myself, I think you should wear a helmet. That's, I guess, your decision. But I was just on the freeway the other day and saw a motorcyclist down and did not look good. I'll just say that. And I was just thinking about that before I saw that, because I saw someone without a helmet on ride his motorcycle, and I was like, man, I just don't know how you can do that. And then I saw someone down, a different motorcyclist. So, but if that's what you want, that's great. Do it. Just be aware of the risks involved in that. So that kind of plays into not great drivers and you're riding around without a helmet on. You don't stand much of a chance if you go down, but that's up for you to decide. All right, the 12th thing is that there are a lot of flies and a lot of mosquitoes here. So now we're starting to get into the nuisances that you might find, and there are a lot of flies. There's not tons you can do about the flies. You can put up fly traps. I don't know, I never find them super effective, but you might. So there are flies here, so keep your doors shut, put screens up, that kind of thing. If you're outside, maybe get a good fan to kind of blow through your patio area to keep the flies away. Make sure your trash is really sealed up to keep the flies out, that kind of thing. But the other thing too is mosquitoes. Now, in general, they're not bad, but if you have any kind of standing water around here, whether that's just from too much irrigation, a pond, whether it's a man-made pond or in one of the HOAs you're at, a lake, any kind of standing water, even someone said just a leaking spigot, a leaking garden spigot, that can attract mosquitoes, and then they can get bad. I was actually at someone's house recently, and the mosquitoes were really bad. I was like, what is going on here? He's like, yeah, my neighbor's, his landscaping, his irrigation sprung a leak, and there's kind of a bunch of standing water on the other side of the fence. Nothing he could do about it, and that's where all the mosquitoes came from. So there are things you can do, of course, with citronella to, try to keep them away. There's actually misters you can install that spray a botanical-based, biodegradable chemical, I guess you might call it, to help keep the flies and the mosquitoes away, and other bugs as well, spiders, that kind of thing. I would look into that more. I don't know truly how safe that is. Supposedly it's completely safe according to the EPA. I wouldn't feel super comfortable doing that myself, but that is a way to mitigate the mosquitoes and the flies. The 13th thing is dangerous animals. Now, being in southern Idaho, not as much, but as soon as you get into the mountains, which are not that far away, you are going to start running into potentially bears, wolves, cougars, mountain lions, all these different predators that can pose a threat, of course, to you as a human. So if you are out hiking, if you're not comfortable with a gun, you definitely want to have some bear spray on you. In fact, either way, I'd still probably have bear spray on you, or be carrying a high caliber firearm. So like a 44 or 45 has good stopping power, and get trained on how to use it. Don't just carry it. But that's certainly something you need to be aware of. That being said, actually moose tend to be the more dangerous animals that aren't really thought of. People look at them, think they're super friendly, try to go up and approach them, and then they get stomped and trampled on. So be aware of moose. Also, we have a lot of deer down in southern Idaho, so that's awesome. Not dangerous per se, but you might run into them with your car, and deer do kill people in their cars. And moose are the worst if you hit moose, because they're so tall, they can flip up over the hood and hit the windshield and kill you. So keep all that in mind when driving around. And that being said too, going back to the hunters, if you're, during hunting season, you're gonna be seeing dead animals in the back of a pickup truck that someone shot and killed. So if you're not comfortable with that, maybe it's not the place for you, but just be aware of that. Number 14 is lack of entertainment options and restaurants. That's all starting to change, but the Boise area itself is not exactly a hotbed for entertainment. Now, downtown Boise, you are gonna have your comedy shows, your clubs, that kind of thing. So late at night, Friday, Saturday, if that's what you're seeing, that you're looking for, you will find some of that, but not like the big cities. Now, probably if you're looking to move here, you're probably not really looking for that. I was not looking for that at all myself. I wanted a nice, safe place to raise my family for these other freedoms that we've discussed already. But if you're looking for that, this is not going to be the place for you. Now, that being said, downtown Boise was rated like the #2 hipster place in America, which is kind of surprising coming from California and having some of the more hipster areas in San Diego, but that's technically what happened. So anyway, not a lot of entertainment options. Over in Nampa, there is the Ford Center, and so that's where the big performing artists, they will go and play there as well, so you get that entertainment. There's also a fantastic rodeo that occurs at the Ford Center. So if you like that, and even if you don't like it, once you move here, you're probably gonna love it. I went to it when I first moved here and absolutely loved it. There was a gospel-centered prayer that was prayed at the very beginning, and it brought tears to my eyes. Everyone stood for the American, for the national anthem versus kneeling, and it was just a fantastic time at the rodeo. We had an absolute blast with our family. So that's more of the type of entertainment you might be finding here in Treasure Valley. And the restaurant selection is going to be not as great. It's certainly improving quite a bit over the past few years. It's gotten way better. Some good options in Boise, but there's just not a ton of options. Now, that being said, there's some good spots popping up in Meridian and Eagle as well. So those are some really good places to check out if you're looking for better restaurant options. Number 15, and if you're moving here and you're into sports, you probably already know this, there's no pro sports team. So if you're looking for a professional sports team to take your kids to, like I grew up going to see the Padres, that's just not here. Now, that being said, Boise State Broncos. Everyone is into the Boise State Broncos. So if that's your thing, college football, then this is definitely going to be the place for you. The town basically shuts down when Boise State is playing here in town. People line up to get into the stadium to save their spot outside the stadium. So that's definitely a big part of the culture here. Now, maybe you have your own sports team, that's fine, college sports team, but the big thing here, of course, is Boise State. So, but no professional sports team. So a lot of people kind of bring their pro sports team with them where they came from and just follow them remotely, of course, but you're not going to be able to go to a professional sports team here. So no baseball, no basketball, no pro football. Number 16 is the education system here is not that great. So it's actually ranked 30th by US News and World Report. It's also ranked 51st in spending on public education. So I think Puerto Rico ranks in there. So not really a state, but kind of. So that's not a lot of money spent on public education. That being said, there are a lot of great charter schools and private schools, STEM schools, and a lot of good homeschooling options. So we homeschool ourselves. We do a homeschool hybrid program. I'm not as worried about that with the public education system, but you might be more concerned about that. Peripherally, of course, I want everyone to be educated well to increase and better our society. But there are some other options available outside of the public education system. That being said, tends to have smaller class sizes. So technically not that great, but it just kind of depends on how you look at it and what exactly you're looking for. And the 17th thing is allergies. If you have bad allergies, they can get bad here in Idaho. Now, Southern Idaho is not nearly as bad as North Idaho. It can get really bad up there, but if you do have allergies, you really need to keep that in mind. A trick that I recently learned is that if you eat raw local honey, then that actually can really help prevent the allergies from flaring up. It's kind of like you're inoculating yourself against those the pollens, because those pollens are kind of mixed into the honey from the bees as they collect the pollen and in order to make the honey. So that can be a great way to mitigate that. You're again kind of not inoculating yourself. So that's definitely worth trying out. I have not personally tried that yet, but I'm going to try that. I don't have bad allergies though, at least not yet. So that is certainly something to keep in mind if you're moving here and you got allergies. Well, that was 17 things that you need to know before moving to Boise in the Treasure Valley area. If you're looking to make a move, please reach out to me via phone, text, or email. My team and I would love to talk to you and figure out what your timeline is for moving, what you're looking for, what your budget is, and so we can help place you in the right home in the right neighborhoods. Idaho and Boise is all about the lifestyle here. I've got tons of videos going into the lifestyle here and what you might be looking for here in Idaho. But you need to reach out and we need to have that conversation to figure out where the best place is for you to live and what that timeline is going to look like for you. So whether that's in the next 9 days or 90 days, or even if it's 2 years out, let's start talking and let's start figuring out the best place is for you. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that like button so you can see the new videos that come out every single week all about living in Boise, and I'll see you on the next video.